You know what's truly wild? For someone who once famously claimed she didn't even Google her own husband before dating him, Meghan Markle sure has played the fame game like a seasoned, ruthless pro. And now it is all coming back to bite her in the most public way imaginable. Because Tom Bower, the legendary investigative journalist, the man who has been wrecking the carefully polished reputations of the rich and powerful for a living, isn't just pulling a few punches. He is pulling the entire curtain back on what might just be the single biggest public relations illusion of the last decade. Let's start with the image that Meghan so carefully and expertly built. You have seen it everywhere. She was the underdog, the biracial girl from a tough background who bravely broke through countless barriers and heroically married into the stiffest, most formidable institution on earth. The story was compelling, it was emotional, and it was incredibly marketable. But according to Tom Bower's explosive, meticulously researched findings, that story was less underdog and more overproduced Hollywood blockbuster. He argues with extensive evidence that it was not a climb from struggle to royalty, but a meticulously planned game of chess, a board filled with calculated moves, strategic handshakes, and a long, cold trail of carefully dropped people who no longer served a purpose in her relentless ascent. And here is the absolute kicker. Bower didn't just speculate. He tracked down the ghosts from Meghan's past, speaking to dozens of people, including former friends, ex-colleagues from her acting days, and even her first husband, Trevor Engelson. And the portrait that he paints is of someone far less concerned with loyalty and far more obsessed with leverage. In this version of the story, relationships weren't relationships, they were ladders. The pattern was brutally simple: climb, detach, and repeat. And in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, that is a well-known, if unspoken, pattern of behavior. You show up smiling, you make exactly the right impression on the right person, and then you disappear the second someone more useful or more powerful walks into the room. Now, just imagine all of that ambition, wrapped in the power and prestige of a royal title. That is where things really go nuclear. Tom Bower isn't just accusing Meghan of being ambitious. He is accusing her of building her entire royal identity on a foundation of carefully constructed falsehoods. The fairy tale she fed to Oprah Winfrey in that bombshell interview, the emotional trauma, the naive girl who was supposedly completely unaware of the realities of royal life, the ultimate victim of cold palaces and cruel, scheming courtiers. According to Bower, all of it is pure, unadulterated revisionist history. And the part of his investigation that truly cuts the deepest is his claim that Meghan knew exactly who Prince Harry was, what he represented on the global stage, and what kind of unparalleled access being his wife would ultimately unlock. This wasn't some organic, magical blind date that led to a whirlwind romance. Bower's book argues with a mountain of evidence that this was a career move, a masterstroke of social and professional climbing. And Prince Harry, poor guy, if Bower's findings hold any water, he didn't just fall in love, he got played. He gave up his family, his country, his titles, and most of his public goodwill for someone who might have seen him less as a life partner and more as a project. That isn't just emotional manipulation, that is legacy-altering damage. Because Harry didn't just walk away from the firm, he burned every single bridge on the way out, all in the name of a narrative that is now crumbling under the weight of facts. Meanwhile, Meghan's carefully constructed empire is starting to wobble. Her lucrative Spotify deal was publicly and humiliatingly terminated. Her Netflix projects are reportedly on ice. And the lifestyle brand she's desperately trying to build in Montecito, well, let's just say it's incredibly hard to sell authenticity when a mountain of receipts is flying directly in your face. The very same audience that once saw her as a brave truth-teller is now starting to ask the one question she can't answer. Was any of it real? And here is what must sting the most for Meghan. She cannot control this narrative. Her usual PR tactics of carefully staged photos, emotional statements, and playing the victim simply are not working on Tom Bower. He doesn't play by Hollywood rules. He is not after an interview or a seat at her table. He's out for what he believes is the truth. And when someone like that digs in, all the polished press releases in the world won't be enough to save you. Insiders are now saying that she is spiraling. But this isn't a quiet, crying in the corner kind of spiraling. We are talking about rage-fueled, Late-night email blasting, lawyer calling, all-out chaos. She wants this story shut down, but the more she pushes, the louder the conversation gets, because the global media now smells blood in the water. And once you lose the iron-fisted control that you built your entire brand on, the fall is always fast, and it is always brutal. Hollywood doesn't care about the truth. It cares about optics, and right now, Meghan's optics are radioactive. Studios want bankable stars, not walking headlines. Brands want safe, reliable faces, not the constant threat of lawsuits and explosive exposés. When your name becomes synonymous with manipulation instead of empowerment, the doors that were once wide open start to slam shut. Tom Bower didn't just write a book, he detonated a brand. The multi-million-dollar deals that were once handed to Meghan on a velvet platter are now drying up. The same powerful executives who once gushed over her potential are now quietly ghosting her representatives. Spotify pulled the plug. Netflix is stalling. Even Archewell, the Sussex's supposed impact engine, is reportedly bleeding staff faster than they can post another mental wellness quote on Instagram. Behind the scenes, it is absolute chaos. Staffers have described a meltdown energy, with important meetings being canceled at the last minute and legal teams panicking over what Bower might drop next. And it's not just Meghan who is imploding. Prince Harry is caught directly in the crossfire. Every single new revelation from the book chips away at what little public goodwill he has left. Imagine being the guy who trashed his entire family on international television, only to find out that your wife might have been rewriting her own life story the entire time. People aren't just questioning Meghan's credibility now. They are questioning Harry's judgment, his character, and his spine. And what about the royal family? Sources close to the palace say that King Charles and Prince William aren't celebrating, but they're not exactly shedding any tears either. There is a strange sense of calm coming from Buckingham Palace, because this chaos, in a way, vindicates everything the firm endured. The accusations of racism, cruelty, and emotional neglect, all of it now comes with a giant asterisk. If Meghan's story doesn't hold water, then neither do her charges against the monarchy. For a royal family that has been dragging its reputation uphill since the death of Princess Diana, this feels like the weight finally lifting. The irony is absolutely brutal. Meghan built an entire global platform around the idea of being misunderstood. She told the world that she was silenced, stifled, and bullied by an unfeeling institution. But now, with the facts and testimonies tumbling out, that entire narrative is crumbling like a house of cards. And what is her response? Even more control, even more spin. She's firing off defensive media statements and leaning into the victimhood narrative harder than ever before. But it's not working, because once the public gets a taste of the unfiltered truth, they stop drinking the PR Kool-Aid. When someone like Meghan feels the walls closing in, they don't retreat quietly. They plot, they counterattack. And that's the whisper in Hollywood right now, that she is preparing something big, a massive legal move, a coordinated media strike, maybe even a scorched earth, tell-all interview aimed right back at the royals or at Bower himself. But what happens if that desperate gambit backfires? What must scare her the most isn't Tom Bower's book. It's what happens if Prince Harry finally opens his eyes. He looks broken. Not just confused or hurt, but truly broken. The kind of quiet that settles in when your whole identity starts to feel like a lie. Friends say he has stopped defending her so fiercely behind the scenes, that he's withdrawn, that the man who once went to war with the British press over a single headline is now simply too exhausted to fight. Meghan might be used to backlash, but Harry is not built for this kind of total collapse, and Meghan knows it. Because without him, the entire structure she has built, her brand, her identity, her power, it all collapses. Without Harry, she is not a duchess. She is not the woman who walked away from the crown for love. She is just another celebrity with a scandal, and in Hollywood, that doesn't sell. The press is circling. Producers are backing away. And Montecito, once her sanctuary of reinvention, is starting to feel more like a glass house. She'll likely try to relaunch again, rebrand again, maybe even play the ultimate card, vulnerability. A dramatic, raw interview filled with tears and a plea for redemption. America loves a comeback story, but it only works if the fall feels real. And right now, Meghan's fall feels engineered, not earned. People are not sympathizing. They are watching, judging, and smirking. And Bauer, he is not done. Insiders say he is sitting on more stories, more statements, more receipts. Meghan can fight back, but every move she makes just gives him more relevance. The louder she screams, the more legitimate he looks. And that is the chessboard she is now stuck on, where every square leads to another trap.